Hi, I'm Willie, and thanks for coming to my channel. So today we're going to talk about UniFi 5.6.22. Been a while since we did a UniFi software update video, so there's going to be some old things here. There's going to be some new things. We're just going to dig into the interface a little bit and take a look around. So let's get to it. First thing we're going to look at is if you're running a Cloud Key, they actually released the Cloud Key Firmware, which is a version of Debian, 0.8.2, and they bundle the UniFi controller 5.6.22. And they upgraded the Java, and they did nothing to the web UI. And this shows you how to SSH in an upgrade, or if you have a Cloud Key, you can get into the Cloud Key maintenance, do an upgrade there, or from within the Cloud Key itself, you can go to maintenance and check for the updates here. Now, I had 5.6.19 running on this Cloud Key. I went ahead and upgraded before the video because you've seen me upgrade these devices plenty of times. You don't want to waste a lot of time watching that again when we've gone over that. If you need those instructions, go back and look at some of the other videos. What I've got on here right now, we've got a USG 3. It is called Event Horizon. It is running the latest GA firmware, which is 4.4.12. Before we get too far into this, let's hop over and take a look at the release notes from 5.6.22 stable. Always make sure you read this. Always make sure you have a backup before you upgrade. There are some known issues. I actually found another issue with the 5.6, and it could have existed before that, but the issue that I found over the last week, I actually found two issues, and the first they're going to fix. The first one is on the unifi.ubnt site. When you go to invite an administrator, if their email address starts with a capital letter, it will block you and not let you send the email. Once you change that first letter to a lowercase, it goes through. I reported it. Looks like they're going to fix that one. The second thing that I found is that if you create a manual IPsec site-to-site VPN, then try to create an auto site-to-site VPN that the auto says it's connected but no traffic will flow. Delete your manual site-to-site and everything works properly. So there's something going on there. They will likely fix it. You know, they take some of those issues very serious. So they added support for new Elite device service. I don't use Elite. I know what it is, but I don't use it. Here are some bug fixes since 5.6.20. Now, don't let this freak you out. Right here it says enable custom antenna gain if user is professional installer. Until Ubiquiti tells us to freak out about that sentence, don't freak out. They're not taking anything away from you. This is for FCC compliance and dealing with the FCC. So don't get all riled up about that sentence. All will be fine. Go ahead and make sure you read these bug changes. That's the one I really wanted to talk to you about. Another one, and if anybody from Ubiquiti is watching this video, I upgraded a site today, and you all had access to that site until recently, but the map, the RF coverage on the map view is broken even after I readjust the scale. So I will ping somebody at Ubiquiti about that as well, but just a heads up. As always, read this guide. You can upgrade to the Cloud Key. If you are using the repositories, you can do an apt-get update. Or if you are not using the repository, you can come over here and grab the file for your operating system of choice. So after you get everything upgraded, this is going to be UniFi 5.6.22. From here, it pretty much kind of, looks the same. Statistics, let's see what they've got. Now, I don't have any wireless hooked to this, but under the overview debugging metrics, and I think this may have been in a previous version, you can actually get debugging information from your access points here. So this is relatively new and relatively nice, relatively needed. So here's that map view. I don't have any maps configured. Here's the topology view, so you can see event horizons all here by its lonesome. I will be adding devices to this Cloud Key to build it out and really push this release. Although I have plenty in the field that are going to be upgraded and pushed. If you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, you saw where I was able to upgrade a site this morning from my phone on the run with a bagel hanging out of my mouth. It's fantastic. Go over here to devices. You're going to notice they've started changing the configuration, where the configuration is for some of these things. So we've still got our WAN information. We've got our performance over the last 24 hours. Under networks, we've got our LAN. Then under config, we've got our WAN. And one thing that you're going to notice is missing from here is going to be your port forwarding. Here's our WAN. It's DHCP. We could turn smart queues on or use a VLAN. Under advanced, you're going to have your MSS clamping. Now, so, if you look at the EdgeRouter, they're starting to bring some of those features over. So now you can enable the hardware offload in the web UI, and you can change the ping server. So, and it tells you additional services are in the settings section. Now, some of this look and feel came, so before you get your pitchforks out, I know some of this came from earlier versions of 5.6. But if you're on a 5.5 release or a 5.4 release and you're looking at upgrading, it's going to look new to you. It's going to look totally new. So that's all we can do with the USG there. I don't know if there's anything new here yet, but the insights and everything, we'll dig into that. The one thing that I really wanted to concentrate on, and I don't have a switch in here, but they've really changed, and we'll get into it. Let's go to... Okay, so if you want to do port forwarding now in 6.22, you're going to go to routing and firewall. You can add static routes. This is beautiful. This came in a little earlier, but in order to do this, I used to have to add VLAN only networks and then on my switch port on the LAN side trunk to the USG to make different networks internally get to this. And now we don't have to do that. We can add the static routes. You've got your firewall rules, which we talked a little bit about these, your groups, your settings. Now, here's something that is a little newer in some of the new releases, where you can come in here and you can do the contract modules, so connection tracking modules. So we always talk about wanting to disable the SIP ALG. So these are application layer gateways. These are all ALGs, and we came in here and we can disable SIP. So now your SIP connections to the outside world should work properly. So they've got all these ALGs that we can come in here and we can turn off. You can do this through the config tree or through the command line on the EdgeRouter. Down here are all your state timeouts, so you can really start tuning this firewall. Down here is your firewall options, and they do have the little help buttons. So if you're like, oh, what does that do? So controls acceptance of ICMP redirects on USG. So on a Cisco router, if you're familiar with that, we used to say, no ICMP redirect or no redirects, and that keeps ICMP packets going where they are supposed to. So you can come in here and you can really start tweaking this. So does this bring the USG up to the EdgeRouter level? No, not yet, but it is a lot of work to get it there. You come to port forwarding. Now you've got all of this port forwarding on this screen right here. So instead of out here on the devices, now it is under routing and firewall. Under profiles, you can see they've moved the switch port profiles to profiles, and it's got this beta tag on it. And we can add a new switch port profile here. We'll call it APs, and we'll call it G1. So generation 1 access points. So we'll have to turn on 24 volt passive. Then what is going to be the native network? We're going to make it LAN, and then are we going to tag? We don't have any other networks. And look at this. Here we can select a voice network. So if we're running voice, so we're getting way, way closer. Here's this voice network. I'm going to have to try this out with some phones. Then under advanced options, you got your 802.1x control, your link negotiation, isolation, storm control, and here's your LLDP right in here. So looks like if we're not ready for voice, we're right on the cusp of being ready for voice big time with UniFi, which will be fantastic. So then you can create the switch profile and apply these profiles to the ports. Here are the services that are available. So you're used to seeing the radius, the server, and the users when we do the IPsec L2TP VPN. You've got Hotspot 2.0. You've got your DHCP server in here. You can also now do DHCP relay. You'll notice that this is beta. We've got our dynamic DNS setting here now. We've got our multicast DNS. We've got our SIP settings. So enable the EDU SIP client. So the EDU access point. So we are really going to have to set up an entire lab for another video. You should test the 5.6.22 upgrade in your lab and then likely go ahead and roll it to your sites. Here's UPnP. Somebody just asked me, how can you enable UPnP? Well, guess what? On 5.6.22 now, there's a button right there. And here are your NTP servers. So everything else, as far as I know, oh, well, now this is different. So what you've got here is you've got DPI restriction groups and DPI restriction assignments. So what you can do is you can add a group, and we'll call this just restriction. So now under restriction, we can add a restriction and we can select a category from the DPI sites, right? So if we wanted to block social networks, we're going to enable this. We're going to block all matching traffic and we're going to log it. We can also add, it looks like we can add multiple categories. So if I wanted to block peer-to-peer, add. So now I'm blocking social network peer-to-peer. So we'll go ahead and save that. DPI restriction assignments. So we're going to assign a network. So we're going to assign the LAN to the restriction group restriction. So now you can see how we're going to start doing content filtering, content blocking, things like that. This is going to open up a whole new world to the USG. This is what the UniFi team has done, is they've taken this technology that started over on the edge side, and now with this bit of the GUI, they have now, in my opinion, surpassed what's going on the edge side. Edge will likely, I would guess, would catch up to this. So let's see if our device, we'll finish going through this stuff real quick. You know, we got all our controller information. Here are the notifications, and look at all of the notifications that you can get. AP adopted. Do we want an event, an alert, and an email? So we've got an AP connected. So now we can do event. Now we can do an email, an alert, AP deleted. We can do AP disconnected. So now it looks like we can be notified when our APs reconnect. This is fantastic. There are so many options on how you can be alerted. You're going to have to dig through all these, but this is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Of course, we've got our cloud access here, our maintenance screen. Down here, you can cache the firmware that you use on your network for your devices, for your UniFi devices. You can cache it here on the cloud key. We've got our auto backup settings going on here. So this is kind of a quick little introduction. It looks like we are provisioned. So let's try to get to a social network. So right now I'm trying to get to Facebook.com, and we've got our restrictions enabled, and you can see I can't get to Facebook.com. So let me try to get to Twitter. I can't get to Twitter. But I can pull up weather.gov. So guess what? That means that the filtering in the new rules, it works beautifully. So check that out. So that's just a little bit of the 5.6.22 controller. I highly recommend you check it out. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please comment and share. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Please use those Amazon affiliate links down there. They don't change your price, but they kick a few bucks to the channel to keep gear rolling in. Another thing that's new is you're going to see my influencer link down there. That's kind of like a store that Amazon has allowed me to put together. You can send that link out to anybody, and it can be used anywhere now, and I will not get dinged. So feel free to share that with your friends. And as always, I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next video.